Bonjour tout le monde. Merci d'être ici avec nous aujourd'hui. Tout d'abord, je voudrais exprimer mes sincères condoléances aux familles, aux amis et aux proches des personnes qui ont perdu la vie lors du tragique écrasement d'avion qui a eu lieu hier en Iran, dont 63 Canadiens et Canadiennes et des citoyens de plusieurs pays, y compris le Royaume-Uni. Ces personnes, évidemment, ont perdu la vie et c'est une des tragédies des plus épouvantables. Depuis hier, je communique avec plusieurs de mes collègues pour obtenir davantage d'informations et, bien évidemment, des éclaircissements. Cela inclut mon homologue ukrainien, mon homologue italien et tard hier soir, mon homologue iranien, avec qui j'ai eu une discussion importante et qui a démontré une ouverture à nos demandes. Évidemment, j'ai soulevé cet enjeu avec Dominic aujourd'hui et je lui ai exprimé mes condoléances aussi. Vous aurez vu les commentaires du premier ministre canadien plus tôt dans la journée. Nous avons des renseignements provenant de différentes sources, notamment de nos services du renseignement et de ceux de nos alliés. Ces renseignements indiquent que l'avion a été abattu par un missile sol-air iranien. Il est possible que ce geste a été fait involontairement. Cette nouvelle vient confirmer la nécessité de mener une enquête approfondie dans cette affaire. Comme l'a dit le premier ministre aujourd'hui, les Canadiens et les Canadiennes ont des questions et ils méritent des réponses. Et j'ajouterais même que le monde a des questions et s'attend à des réponses. Le Canada s'assurera que ceux qui sont responsables fournissent ces réponses. So first of all, I would like to express my sincere condolences to the families, the friends and the loved ones of those who were killed in the tragic plane crash yesterday. This includes 63 Canadians and citizens from many other countries, including the United Kingdom. This is a heartbreaking tragedy. Since yesterday, I have spoken to many of my colleagues to gather more information and seek clarification. This includes my Ukrainian counterpart, my Italian counterpart, and late last night, my Iranian counterpart with whom I had an important discussion. Minister Zarif demonstrated an openness to providing access to Canadian officials, to provide consular services, to help with the identification of the victims, and to assist with the ongoing investigation. Of course, Dominic and I discussed this tragedy this afternoon, and I expressed my deepest condolences to him as well. I am sure that, as many of you have heard, what the Prime Minister shared today with Canadians. We have intelligence from multiple sources, including our allies and our own intelligence, that indicates that the plane was shot down by an Iranian surface-to-air missile. This may well have been unintentional. And this new information reinforces the need for a thorough investigation of this matter. As the Prime Minister said today, Canadians have questions and they deserve answers. I would add to that that the world has questions and that the world expects answers. And Canada will seek those responsible to provide those answers. À mon collègue, le secrétaire Dominic Raab, merci d'être venu ici à Montréal aujourd'hui. The fact, sir, that you are here, despite it being one of the coldest days so far of the year, shows the warmth in the relationship between our two countries. Le Canada et le Royaume-Uni travaillent en étroite collaboration sur la scène mondiale. Nous partageons une histoire et des valeurs communes qui fait de notre alliance, Monsieur le Secrétaire, une alliance unique et durable. Today, Dominic, Raab, and I discussed the ongoing situation in the Middle East, as people would expect. This is of grave concern to us both. Canada and the UK are in agreement on the need for de-escalation. Le Canada et le Royaume-Uni sont d'accord sur la nécessité d'une désescalade. We have both condemned the recent attacks on coalition force in Iraq by Iran. Nous avons tous les deux condamné les attaques récentes contre les troupes de la coalition en Irak par l'Iran. We also agree that the efforts of the coalition and the NATO missions in Iraq are critical. We are partners to the people of Iraq in support of peace, stability, and prosperity that they have called for, and obviously that they deserve. Finally, we agree that the non-proliferation is critical to ensuring that tensions do not escalate further and maintaining stability in the region and beyond. We also, as you would expect, and as Canadians would expect, we discussed the case of the Canadians, which are detained in China. And I want to thank Dominic for the UK's unwavering support in this matter from the very beginning. Dominic and I also had some very productive discussions about how we can deepen our close ties, our shared commitment to fighting climate change, and standing up for human rights and the situation in Venezuela, Hong Kong, and Ukraine. Finally, we discussed our shared commitment to press freedom. Last summer, Canada and the UK co-hosted a global summit on media freedom in London. Out of that meeting, we created the Global Media Defense Fund to UNESCO, which I am pleased to announce today will launch its first call for proposals very, very shortly. And I am pleased to announce, together with Foreign Secretary Raab, that we are creating the first Canada-UK Global Award for Media Freedom. Le Canada a très hâte d'accueillir la deuxième conférence mondiale sur la liberté de presse plus tard cette année dans la belle ville de Québec. Alors, de plus en plus de journalistes du monde entier sont menacés. Nous sommes tous les deux déterminés à ce que nos gouvernements respectifs continuent d'appuyer et de défendre la liberté de presse. Dominic, au nom de tous les Canadiens et les Canadiennes, je tiens à vous remercier personnellement pour votre visite. Sir, it's a real honor and pleasure to welcome you to Canada again. You are a big friend of Canada, and I look forward to listen to you, and then we can answer questions together. The floor is yours, sir.
François-Philippe, thank you very much for your very warm welcome. I'm pleased to be back in Canada for a second time since my appointment, and obviously the first thing I need to do is to offer my condolences to the people of Canada, and particularly the families as they grieve for those who died tragically in yesterday's Ukrainian International Airlines crash, as well, of course, as the UK victims and indeed the families of all of those who perished. We mourn their loss, and our thoughts are with all of their families and their loved ones at such a difficult time. Merci à François-Philippe pour votre accueil chaleureux. C'est un plaisir d'être de retour au Canada. Et je voudrais présenter mes condoléances aux Canadiens en deuil de ceux qui sont tragiquement décédés dans l'écrasement du vol de Ukrainian International Airlines hier. Nous pleurons leur perte et nos pensées accompagnent toutes les familles et les proches des victimes en cette période difficile. We agree with the Canadian assessment that indicates that Ukrainian International Airlines flight was shot down by an Iranian surface-to-air missile, and as François-Philippe said, it may well have been unintentional. Our view on the crash underlines why we urgently now need an independent, full and transparent investigation to establish what caused it. The Iranian regime must open up to the international community, including access to the crash site, so we can get the truth as quickly as possible to give the families of the victims an understanding of what happened to their loved ones. The families of the victims deserve to know the truth. And we say that whether they're Canadian families, British families, Ukrainian families, Swedish, German, Afghan. And let us not forget the Iranian families, because they've suffered the greatest loss of life in this terrible incident, and they deserve to know the truth too. Now, this is my second visit to Canada in my time as Foreign Secretary, and that's because I consider Canada one of our very closest of friends. And of course, it's a tragic moment, and I wouldn't have wanted to come back for a second time, ideally in such circumstances, but would always want to be by the side of our Canadian friends in their hour of need. We're bound by our common values, our shared history, and the precious relationship between our peoples. And I look no further to the great city of Montreal, where we're proud your flag bears the Scottish thistle, the English rose, and the Irish shamrock, alongside the fleur-de-lis and the white pine. Our countries stand together to ensure peace and prosperity right around the world. And we're committed to ensuring that when we leave the EU, this relationship, this friendship, goes from strength to strength. We know that trade between the UK and Canada increased by 14% last year. Foreign direct investment is rising too. Around 140 British companies have made their home in Quebec, including HSBC and Rolls-Royce. At the same time, we feel honoured that over 100 Quebec companies have made a home in the UK in sectors as diverse as IT consulting to aerospace. And let me just say, we value everything that the Canadian entrepreneurs, the workers, the citizens in the UK contribute to our country. So it's no wonder we feel strongly about strengthening our trading relationship post-Brexit. And together we've already put in measures in place to ensure continuity and certainty of trade between our countries as the UK leaves the EU. And beyond the implementation period, we want to see the strongest possible commercial relationship so that our businesses can continue to thrive on both sides of the Atlantic. But our friendship is also about our leadership on the global stage as champions for peace and security. And we stand shoulder to shoulder together, and now is a timely reminder of why that bond and why that alliance is just so important. At NATO back in December, François-Philippe, we were reflecting on 70 years of stability, solidarity, and peace. And in a changing world of rapidly evolving threats, we know that alliances like NATO are now more important than ever. Canada's contribution has always been absolutely a crucial element of NATO. We've got British troops leading NATO's deployment in Estonia, and just next door, Canadian forces taking up that responsibility in Latvia. We warmly welcome Canada's increased commitment to the NATO Readiness Initiative in December, and your choice of BAE Systems and Lockheed Martin's design for the next generation of Canadian warships. I think these are just examples, illustrations, if you like, of the deep bond of trust we have in each other and how we stand together in defence of our shared democratic values. So Canada is a truly treasured and unique friend to the United Kingdom. In fact, I think you're the only country that sits alongside the UK in NATO, the G7, the G20, the Commonwealth, and the Five Eyes intelligence agency. So against the bedrock of our alliance today, we talked about our shared concern around the situation in Iraq, in Iran. I think we all agree a war in the Middle East would only benefit Daesh and the other terrorist groups. We condemn the attack on Iraqi military bases hosting coalition, including British forces, and we urge Iran not to repeat the reckless and dangerous attacks and rather pursue the urgent de-escalation and a return to diplomatic dialogue. And of course, our joint mission in the world is not confined to our shared security or indeed trade. It's about our joint mission in the world as a force for good. And as we leave the EU, a crucial part of the UK's engagement as a truly global Britain will be based on our role as a global good citizen. And we know that we share that same instinct and those same values with Canada and the Canadian people. So we welcome Canada's pledge to reach net zero emissions by 2050, and we look forward to working very closely with you on planning for COP26 and the global UN climate change talks, which we're delighted to host in Glasgow this year, as we look to build a more resilient and a more sustainable future for our children and for the next generation. In 2017, Canada and the UK launched the Powering Past Coal Alliance, bringing together governments, businesses, international organisations in making a commitment to phase out unabated coal power generation. And finally, François-Philippe, we have both spent time working in The Hague, another thing we have in common. And so we know firsthand how important it is to stand together in support of human rights and the rule of law around the world. So I'm looking forward to continuing the good work our countries are doing together on promoting and safeguarding media freedom, including the prize that François-Philippe has just announced. Last summer, the UK and Canada brought together 1,500 representatives from over 100 countries for the world's first global conference for media freedom in London. And it was led by our two countries that we're working with partners around the world to create legislative protections for journalists, to provide resources for journalists who find themselves at risk, and to increase the accountability for those who threaten the media, the journalists who speak truth to power. And in the same spirit, we look to Canada, which has been at the forefront of developing the Magnitsky-style mode of human rights sanctions, which are imposed against those responsible for the very worst human rights abuses. These sanctions are a powerful new tool to hold the world's killers and torturers to account, and keep human rights abusers and their blood money out of our respective countries. Once we leave the EU, the UK will establish our own human rights sanction regime, inspired very much by the Canadian model. And we look forward to collaborating with Canada on human rights sanctions and ultimately and above all to defend the values that our two countries share. In just a few weeks' time, when the UK leaves the EU, we'll be able to forge an even stronger relationship with one of our most trusted allies and friends. So, François-Philippe, thank you for being such an early and energetic friend as we engage in that endeavour. And I look forward to working together with you for the benefit of the people of our two countries. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Lovely. Allez-y.
Jessica Rubenter from CBC News. How would you describe Iran's level of cooperation in the investigation right now? And how much more do you have to see from them? What more do you have to see from them to satisfy the questions that Canadians have about why this happened and how it happened?
Well, I assume you're asking me the question, so let me provide an answer, and I mean Dominic may want to add with his own experience. Obviously, the first communication we had with the state of Iran was yesterday night. As you know, around midnight, I did call my counterpart in Iran. I made the case that Canada had a legitimate need to access. We want to send our quick reaction team, obviously, on the ground to be able to provide consular services. I did stress that Canadians and Canada has a legitimate need and concern with respect to the investigation, that we wanted to bring Canada's expertise and Canada's commitment to be an active participant in the investigation. And I would say that the response by the Iranian government or the Iranian foreign minister was open, was encouraging. Now, we are pursuing at the officials level because Canadians should understand that the first step is obviously, since Canada does not have a presence in Iran, the first step is for us to obtain visas so our quick reaction team can be on the ground to provide consular services, to be able, obviously, to work with families and loved ones to provide the answers that they deserve. So step one is obviously getting the visa, and I can tell you today, following the discussion I had yesterday, that we had officials engaged, and at the officials level, what I can report to Canadians is that it seems that the discussion of yesterday was followed up, that the officials have received indication that they can go forward with the issuance of the visas. We are following that, I would say, minute by minute or hour by hour, and we will be providing all the information to Canadians. As soon as I have news, we will make sure that Canadians know exactly where we are. This is step one, getting access in the country for our quick reaction team, and obviously being able to participate in the investigation. Évidemment, la première discussion que j'ai eue, c'était hier soir avec mon homologue iranien. Vous savez que ça faisait des années que le Canada n'avait pas de communication avec l'État de l'Iran. Alors, ce que j'ai souligné hier au ministre iranien des Affaires étrangères, c'était la nécessité pour notre équipe de réponse rapide de pouvoir entrer sur le territoire iranien pour pouvoir offrir des services consulaires, évidemment aux familles qui sont concernées. Alors, ce que je lui ai demandé, c'était d'abord de faciliter l'émission des visas pour ce personnel-là, de pouvoir entrer sur le territoire iranien. Je lui ai fait part aussi de la demande légitime du Canada de participer de façon très active dans l'enquête qui aura lieu. Et ce que je peux vous dire, c'est qu'aujourd'hui, les officiels ont été en contact suite à ma discussion avec le ministre iranien des Affaires étrangères. C'est une situation qu'on suit d'heure en heure pour s'assurer que ce qu'on s'est fait, ce qu'on a dit, que nos homologues iraniens nous ont démontré de l'ouverture. Alors, on verra si les visas vont être émis. C'est une situation qui évolue d'heure en heure, mais ce que je peux vous dire, c'est que les discussions que nos officiels ont aujourd'hui indiquent que le régime iranien est en train d'émettre les visas pour permettre à nos officiels de pouvoir entrer sur le territoire iranien et ensuite, évidemment, la question de l'enquête. Alors, moi, ce que j'ai dit, c'est qu'on va transmettre l'information aux Canadiens, aux Canadiennes, aux familles qui sont concernées, toute l'information. Dès que j'ai l'information, on sera transparent, évidemment, avec les Canadiens et les Canadiennes. Monsieur. You want to add anything, Dominic? Go ahead.
I agree with your assessment. I would just say this, there is a standard, international, global standard for how investigations in these circumstances should take place. And of course, we expect a full, transparent and swift examination and investigation according to international standards. And obviously for us as foreign ministers, but for all of those families, whether it's Canadian, British, but all the families of the victims, I think they would expect us to get that transparency and to see Iran in its early days, and it's good to see this starting to feel like a collaborative effort, but we need absolutely full and transparent investigation. And I think it's not just here in Canada or here back home in the UK that the families of the victims would expect it. I'm sure in Iran the families will expect no less. And I think if we don't see it, and obviously I want to give it time and I want this to be a collaborative endeavour, then I think it will only fuel more questions, not least given our assessment of the causation of the accident.
Monsieur le ministre, le Premier ministre, un peu plus tôt, l'a mentionné dans la volonté d'avoir une enquête. Il dit que le monde a besoin d'avoir des réponses à ces questions. Vous l'avez dit aussi. J'aimerais peut-être vous demander à quelles questions est-ce qu'il faut que cette enquête réponde? Qu'est-ce que vous voulez éclaircir comme information par rapport à cette tragédie?
Bien, évidemment, ce que les familles canadiennes se demandent, ce que le monde se demande, ce que le Canada se demande, et je pense, comme le disait mon collègue Dominic Raab, ce que les familles iraniennes aussi se demandent, c'est les causes de l'accident. Il y a des allégations sérieuses qui ont été faites aujourd'hui, comme on disait, sur la base des informations qu'on a des services de renseignement. Il s'avère que la cause probable de la chute de l'avion, ce soit évidemment un missile, ce qu'on appelle sol-air, qui aurait été tiré du côté iranien. Je pense que dans les circonstances actuelles, comme dans toutes les circonstances d'un incident évidemment aérien, on veut faire la lumière. Les gens ont des questions légitimes, les gens veulent des réponses complètes, et la meilleure façon de le faire, je pense, c'est de le faire dans la transparence. C'est là ce qu'on a dit à nos homologues iraniens, c'est de permettre aux enquêteurs canadiens, comme aux enquêteurs, évidemment, de l'Ukraine et de d'autres pays. Parce que je pense que, suite aux allégations qui ont été fournies, un effort multilatéral va de soi. Je pense que le monde voudra comprendre, le monde veut savoir, les familles iraniennes aussi veulent savoir. J'en suis certain. Alors, ce qu'on a dit, c'est que nous, comme Canada et d'autres pays dans le monde, on offert leur assistance, leur expertise au niveau technique pour pouvoir répondre à ces questions-là et de faire toute la lumière. Parce que, comme on a dit, les indications, les informations, le renseignement qu'on a obtenu jusqu'à date indique que ce serait évidemment la cause de l'accident serait un missile sol-air. Et c'est possible aussi que ça a été fait de façon non intentionnelle. Alors, il y a beaucoup de choses à établir, il y a beaucoup de faits. On ne rentrera pas dans la spéculation, mais la façon de répondre à ces questions-là, c'est évidemment de commencer l'enquête, comme le disait le secrétaire Raab, le plus rapidement possible et de faire toute la lumière, évidemment, sur les causes de la tragédie. Do you want to add anything, sir?
I think I agree with everything François-Philippe has said. I think if I were mourning a loved one today, I want to know what had happened, why it had happened, and who was responsible. And I think an investigation must answer those three questions.
And Canada will seek answers to these questions. Canada will seek answers to these questions. With our allies, with the international community, the world want to know. and certainly Canadians and Canada will seek answers to these questions. Madam?
Teresa Romano, Omni News Italian. Minister Champagne, I know that you speak Italian very well. So
I don't know if we have interpretation in Italian for Dominic, but I will do free translation for you.
It would be very appreciated if you can answer in Italian as well. In light of the latest developments, but also in light of Iran's Civil Aviation Authority invitation for Canadian investigators from the Transportation Safety Board to join a growing team probing the plane crash, does Canada still need European country, as Italy, for example, as diplomatic intermediary, and what role Italy will play going forward?
Well, first of all, let me answer in English for the vast majority, and I will translate then in Italian if you allow me to answer this way. First of all, I'd like to thank Luigi Di Maggio, which is the Foreign Minister of Italy. We had a conversation yesterday where obviously for Canadians to understand, since Canada does not have a presence in Iran, we are acting to the Italian embassy in Tehran. So the Italian government and Luigi offered me all the assistance that the Italian government can. Obviously, Canadian officials need to work to the Italian presence in the country to obtain the visas because there's procedures behind it. That's why I spoke to the Iranian foreign minister, but also the Italian foreign minister, to accelerate the process. And I'm following that very closely. That's why I spoke also with my Ukrainian counterpart. So Italy is playing a crucial role. I want to thank the Italian people. I want to thank the Italian civil service. I want to thank the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Italy for immediately offering to Canada all the assistance that Italy can offer. So I'll do it in Italian so that you have the... So ieri ho parlato con il Ministro Luigi Di Maggio, ci siamo parlati in pomeriggio, io ho chiesto l'assistenza del governo italiano perché come lei sa il Canada non ha un'ambasciata a Teheran, abbiamo bisogno della presenza dei nostri colleghi italiani. Il Ministro Di Maggio mi ha offerto la sua assistenza, quello del governo italiano, del suo popolo per aiutarci a evidentemente essere in Teheran. Abbiamo bisogno di passare tramite il governo italiano, così l'ho ringraziato. Lui mi ha assicurato della sua completa assistenza e che il governo lavorerà con il governo del Canada e lo voglio ringraziare perché dall'inizio, lui era in Egitto ieri, mi ha detto subito che sarebbe pronto a aiutare il Canada. Grazie. It's unusual, but you know, this is Canada, so we can answer questions in French, in English, Italian, and probably many other languages. Merci.
Okay. Merci. Alison Lampert with Reuters. So given the serious allegations you mentioned before involving the Ukraine jet, bottom line, who does Canada hold responsible for the deaths of 63 Canadians, and how do you respond?
Well, I would say it's too early to tell. I think what we want to do now, and I think what the world expects, is a thorough investigation. When you have serious allegations and when you have credible evidence that suggests that a surface-to-air missile would have been fired and would have caused a civilian plane to crash, I cannot think of something more serious that the world would want to investigate. So what I can say is that it is obviously too early to tell. We don't want to speculate, but we certainly want to make sure, and I think you heard Secretary Raab saying the same thing, that the international community will want answer, and Canada will seek answer on behalf of Canadians, families, and I would say the international community. You want to add anything, Dominic?
No, I agree with that word for word.
Amanda Klein with CTV. When you spoke to the Iranian foreign minister last night, did you raise the possibility that the aircraft was shot down with a surface-to-air missile? And if so, what was his response? And if not, why didn't you?
As you would expect in a situation like that, it is very dynamic and fluid. When I spoke to him yesterday, I did not have the information that came through intelligence services at different point of time, as you would expect. This is a very dynamic situation. We had, as you know, a number of meetings with the Prime Minister, discussions as things were unfolding. We work on the basis of facts. So yesterday when I did call the Iranian Foreign Minister, I did not have that fact established. We focused yesterday on what was the critical element that we need, which is access, obviously, to the site. In order to get access to the site, we need visas for our quick reaction team. And I also made the case that we needed to participate in the investigation. And also, I told them in very clear terms that we were condemning the missile attack on our coalition forces, on NATO forces, because I reminded him in a very candid way that we are there because we want to help the Iraqi people. The Iraqi people want stability, and stability only comes with security. And when you have, obviously, security, stability comes prosperity. They are going through very important economic and democratic reform. I did speak, as you may have seen in the readout, with the Speaker of Parliament. I did speak with the Foreign Minister in Iraq, and both have told me that the people of Iraq, they want these reforms to be carried through. And the best way to do that is obviously having the international community, the coalition, the NATO forces being there so that we can help them achieve what the Iraqi people so well deserve.
Merci. Thanks, everyone.
Merci tout le monde. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.